Hey, my name is ArtJay. I'm a bit of a tournament nerd. I love tournaments, and I play EVE Online a lot and do lots of different things. I fly for of Inappropriate Footwork.
Hey guys, I'm Bob Shaftoes. I'm a member of the Camel Empire, small gang roaming group, and I'm also a tournament commentator.
I'm Blue Ice. I'm Braves head FC, and I'm the new co-host. And we're also, yeah, I am. And a quick shout out for our sponsor, EveBet, who do some great Eve-related gambling. You should go check them out.
Great. So guys, what ships have you been flying this week? What have you been doing in Eve?
I've rediscovered a love for interdictor class vessels in my Eve over the last couple of weeks. I've been pretty much exclusively flying a bubble dictor. I found out with the fittings and stuff and all the changes they made to interdictors a while ago, it's actually pretty feasible to fit a flycatcher or a heretic with light missiles that can do damage and a bubble launcher. I've just been having a great amount of fun with that.
Dude, you can do them. They're so awesome. Like, you can do basically the Talwar concept, but with flycatchers. So everything has like 30k EHP, and every single ship in the fleet can launch bubbles. So you can just infinitely tackle things. It's amazing. What have you been flying, Dave?
We've been on a little deployment this week, doing some small gang Sov warfare. So I've been mostly in a Moros and a Prowler. And reinforcing structures and then switching to an Ishtar and shooting people. So that's been quite fun.
Blue?
We've sort of started flying Tal Wars again, actually. And we've rediscovered how great they are. Because they're just so cheap and they just do so much damage. It's pretty good. But myself, I don't know, I haven't really been flying much in Eve, just moving stuff around. I've been taking my Proteus out a bit, but other than that, not really anything serious.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. I've been flying almost exclusively my Archon, because PL have moved like 5 times in the past month, because as soon as we redeploy, Nully run away 2 more regions, and we're currently contractually obliged to chase them. So it's a lot of move-ups. But on the way, we just take all the R64s on our way, and it's great. So I've got like 3 personal moons spitting out money at the moment. It's fantastic.
How does the Phoebe changes, how does that work out for moving large-scale amounts of carriers now? Because I haven't actually done it in a couple of years.
You don't have the old Sino highway of awesomeness, but basically, regional gates are actually really awesome now, because effectively you get to jump a ridiculous number of light years in a jump with no fatigue. So, like, if you think about it now, every 5 light years is a jump and is an amount of fatigue. So if there's a regional gate that takes you from one region to another for like 15 light years, that's 3 jumps you no longer have to do. So generally what we've been doing is we do a couple gates, then we'll do a jump, then we'll do a couple gates, then we'll do a jump, and it's just like safe pauses all the way, do it super safe, super slowly in order to minimize fatigue. But the last 2 or 3 jumps you can do on any route, you can pretty much do them straight, just with the 5 minutes delay, because if you do 2 jumps straight one after the other, you get 4 hours of fatigue, and if you do 3 jumps, you get like somewhere between 16 and 20. So if you're doing a move up and then you're going to bed, then that doesn't really matter all that much. So if you're going up to like, if you're just moving like from one part of south to another part of the south, it's not actually that bad. It's gonna be like an hour and a half, 2 hour move up, so as long as any fleet. But if you're going like Fountain to Venal, you're gonna hate your life. Like, if anything, if you're doing that as an alliance, I'd say don't do that at once. Do like a 2-week deployment to a mid spot, have some PvP there, and move on. So you don't have the ridiculous fatigue, you don't burn out your members from just people getting left behind, and it's terrible. But yeah, that's my take anyway.
Yeah, I'm pretty bitter, and I've pretty much vowed never to ever move again. I just sit in my home system now, my giant pile, like 200 ships I've got in my hangar or something, and then I'm never going to do a move up again. I used to live pretty nomadically with when I was in Outbreak, and I used to be in NC Dot for a while, just when NC Dot first formed. And there was a lot of move ups, there's a lot of nomadic moving around, and I really don't feel like moving around in Eve again, especially with Phoebe.
So,
well,
yeah.
I was gonna say, wormholes make things awesome though.
They do.
Like, if you're patient enough and you probe around, for the right wormholes, you can move a surprising amount of capitals across from one side of the galaxy to the other. Not instantly, but it's a lot easier than you think it is.
I've got an alt that just lives in Thera, and I do some solo small gang PvP on it with Chesser's micro gang channel. That's awesome. You can go anywhere at any point ever. And I think that wormhole upgrades in SOV are underutilized, because if you grab a constellation, chuck wormhole upgrades in there, max them out, you can get connections to most anywhere and even roam wherever you want from just where you live.
Yeah, that's what we do with low sec. It's just kind of awesome. When they buff the amount of direct low sec and direct null sec holes that spawn in low sec systems, that was just one of the best things that ever happened to us as a small gang roaming corp, because we have a couple of guys who just probe out wormholes maybe for a couple hours a day. And for example, I looked at our Siggy today and we had something like 30 connections. So that's 30 different places in Eve we can go. We basically could go from our home system, go a couple of jumps, and then pop up anywhere across the whole map. So if there's any PvP or any gangs around that we can take, then we can take that fight and then have fun as a result of it.
I really like, kind of, this is off kind of what we're talking about today, but I kind of really like that in that wormholes can get you anywhere and you can roam tons of places, but because of the mass limitations on wormholes, you can't roam through with really heavy-duty assets. Like, you can't realistically roam in a big battleship gang unless you're doing, like, Macarials or something that warp really fast. Like, it's just too much of a pain. You certainly can't do capital support anymore. So if you go and poke someone, they'll have the defender's advantage of having all their stuff set up, and they'll know their own region, and they'll have set up puzzles, and they'll have stuff. But by being able to pop out anywhere, the defender then doesn't have the advantage of where, if you just had eyes on all your regional entrances, you were fine. Like, you could look after Fountain or whatever just by having an eye on Sinos and having an eye on all the regional gates. Now, people popping out of wormholes everywhere, it's a lot more of your space has a lot more entrance points. There's a lot more ingress and egress, which I think is really cool for roaming gangs.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I love wormholes as a concept. I hope CCP does more of the wormholes in the future and makes them more utilized. I'm really shocked that people, don't realize the utility of wormholes more. I'm kind of surprised at how Thera turned out as well. I thought Thera would be a lot more popular than it's actually turned out to be.
I think Thera's popular as like a crossroads, but as a place to live, it's not very popular for any groups that are particularly large. Like, it's great if I want to go from here to here. Oh, there's a Thera connection. Great. So it's a road more than I think.
Is there not like the Thera boys, the Warlords guys and stuff? That's the
good old Gorski.
And also you got like Bombers Bar, don't they live there now? So I think there is groups who it does work for, and I think that's really cool. And I think it's not dead when you go in there. I mean, you can't see how many people are docked up in the stations because there's no local. But I think more of those systems would be awesome. But yeah.
Still, today we are here to talk about tournaments. There's a lot of kind of tournament action going on recently, and hopefully will be going on in the future. So let's start with the most recent EVE tournament that happened, the most recent big EVE tournament that happened, which Bob was at. We had the Worlds Collide tournament of Tranquility versus Serenity. So Bob, why don't you tell us what that experience was like, doing an EVE tournament in front of a live studio audience, as compared to EVE tournaments in the past. How did that feel for you?
Well, I actually got approached to do the tournament after doing the first Event, which took place in February. Bay asked if I wanted to do, commentate for a small EVE tournament at the Synchron running. Eventually, I got involved and helped him design the rules and stuff for that tournament. And then devs attended to that tournament. So after
Worlds Collide, the FanFest tournament.
Yeah. After Event was done, I got approached by Gargant to do Worlds Collide as a result of that, because that was it was a small audience at Event that kind of led on to the big audience. It was pretty scary, to be honest, being kind of thrown into the situation where, you're racing up from that stage in that smoke and there was like 2,000 people staring at you. It was just like, wow, this is nuts. And I don't know how that reflects with your experience being an AT commentary, Apoth.
Well, like at the AT, like every time the camera wouldn't be on us, we'd be doing a mixture of watching the match or the screen or the analysis, and like even in the break room, and we'd also have like our tablets on our lap watching the stream chat, because like you'd be doing, say you'd done like a match for like 10 minutes, you'd just been casting that match, You then go to the chat and go, okay, how many of my jokes bombed? How many of them really went well? How did I screw up? And why is everyone really angry? And you scroll up and you see all the things people have been saying in reverse order. So, like, having a live audience, that instant, okay, that was funny, you can roll with it. Because, like, a lot of the times when you're kind of working for an audience, I've got a background in, like, improv drama and performance stuff like that. It's, if a joke has gone well, you can build on it, and you can only know it's gone well if you've got that immediate response. Whereas if a joke is bombed, and you then try to go on with it, then you're doing worse and worse and worse, and you're further alienating the audience. And in a setting where you can't have one eye on the Twitch stream, that can be a little bit more difficult. I mean, it's entirely doable. I'm not saying it's a horrible, horrible problem, but it's a nice bonus of having a live audience.
Yeah, we had absolutely no idea what kind of feedback we were getting. I didn't even really know until I saw Gargant basically the next day. It was kind of a case of show up at FanFest, you know, do the normal day stuff at FanFest, 10 roundtables and presentations and stuff. Then go into the Worlds Collides, go into the Harpa, the main room of the Harpa, and just get a microphone pinned to you. And then just got ushered to this elevator, and that was it. That was all the prep that was going on for that.
I am so sad I couldn't go to FanFest. I had really important exams on the Monday, and originally I was going to be involved in the Worlds Collide thing, and I was like, no, I can't make it. It did look like it was so much fun. I mean, Blue and Bay, I mean, as spectators, when you watched the stream, what did you think of this compared to tournaments you've watched before? Yeah, okay, you were there.
Yeah.
So, okay, so tell us what it was like sitting in the audience at a live EVE tournament.
So it took a while to set everything up, which you probably noticed on the stream, but you could feel the energy from the commentators, and I don't know, the Chinese guys looked really nervous. I don't know. Apart from that, it wasn't that much different from watching it on stream, I guess, other than, you know, you're in the audience. What do you think, Bay?
I didn't go to FanFest, unfortunately, and I watched it at home in the living room. It's kind of a strange experience, actually, because I got some chips on my way from work, and so right, my family, like, normally if my family watches TV that time of day, like, right, Daddy's taking over the laptop, and we sat there and watched it, and I felt it was really exciting. Having that live audience made a massive difference to me to watching it just one of the normal Alliance tournament finals. Usually you're just carried along with the commentators' excitement in AT. Like, I'm trying to think of, like, Shadoo getting really, really excited about, you know, you know, about shiny ships dying and stuff like that. You get carried away. That's exciting. With 2,000 people in the background, I think that just makes it more awesome. And I think CCP should definitely do more of that.
Yeah, I definitely want to echo that. I mean, being in a situation where you've got a live studio audience, you can sort of feed off the energy that the crowd is sort of bringing to the event. And just the cheering and the oohing and the ahhing. I was especially good at EVMT during the finals period of that. And like the Camel War chant at Worlds Collide was just awesome as well. And it was really great to see. I do hope we see more live EVE tournaments. And there will be one tournament at EVMT this September. Is that correct, Bay?
Yep, we're going to do the same thing again. So the first event back in EVMT back in September of last year, we didn't have any tournament, but I said to Nash, the guy, who's the organizer, I really wanted. I think it'd be awesome to have a live tournament. I particularly inspired by the one in EVE Down Under. I really like that format, and I thought it was fun. So in February, we set up a tournament. Nash let me take hold of it, and I got Bob involved to help me out with the rules and balancing, and he spent a long time fitting ships and everything. We had pre-fit ships, so people sit down. It was quite, as people go through the door, they put a name in a hat, they get picked out, and it's a 2v2. So it's quite kind of like, the idea is to create social links between players. And you sit down at the computer, you pick a ship, you fight, and it went really well. We had a 64 player single elimination knockout. Gave away, was it £3,000 worth of prizes, which is really, really cool. And CCP said it was one of the best player-run sort of events of that type they've seen before, so we're trying to push it. We're going to do it again, exactly the same thing in September. We're going to keep the same format. Me and Bob have been working on some rules and might change the ship types a little bit, but other than that, we worked really well before, so we're going to do the same thing again.
Yeah, so...
Yeah,
Speaking of Eve Nottingham, which is on September 19th, I want to say.
Yep.
I think. Yeah.
Yep.
We're actually going to be giving away a ticket to Eve Nottingham on this show a little later towards the end. I'm not completely sure how we're going to decide on who gets it. We might just ask a question on the stream and the first person to say the correct answer is in chat will get it. Something like that. But yeah, also, Bay, you've been working on a little side project that I've been able to interact with a little bit. We've been having some mini tournaments on a monthly basis. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yep. So, I mean, we've been planning. I've been really. I saw the Worlds Collide thing. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the Event thing, and I love the format of World Collide. So, I mean, I'd love CCP to do more tournament stuff. I love taking part in tournament stuff, but there's not a lot going on. So I'm like, right, let's make some. So, taking the Worlds Collide format, I did a little internal thing in my alliance. We've got 2 corporations, so we did Kick Collides, which is our ticker, and that was really fun. Everyone who took part really enjoyed it. Questionable Ethics Corp won it. Everyone wants to do it again, so we decided to challenge the Tuskers using the same format to a best of 5, and I streamed it on my stream. And Bob came on to do some commentate, helped me host it, and he dragged along yourself and Chessa and Gorski as commentators, and the feedback was really, really positive. So basically, I'm just taking that and I'm running with it. We're going to tie it to the Eventy Nottingham brand because me and Nash have kind of got this dream that at some point we'd like to do it live. So we're kind of tying at that. I'm just putting the website in the stream now that we've just got set up.
Hey.
So on the 3rd of May, we've got Hard Knocks Inc. We'll be challenging the Tuskers to a best of 5, and it's going to be like a winner stays on thing. We're going to try and do it first Sunday of every month.
That match is going to be so sick. Like, Tuskers had a beautiful run in the Alliance tournament, and all their players are like really hyped and really enthused by it, and have been just like, every time I've spoken to someone from the Tuskers since the Alliance tournament, they've been saying, oh, we've been thinking about this for our next tournament match, and the next time we do a tournament, we want to do this, and they love it now. They're totally in love. And then Hard Knocks, they're going to be really strong. Like, they're going to give them a damn good fight.
People have said to me, Hard Knocks, like, they haven't got a tournament history. How are they going to do well against the Tuskers? But they've got a lot of players with tournament experience, and they have been in a corporation in alliances. I think Kill with Fire. They're going to kill me for getting it wrong.
I don't remember.
So they have got tournament experience, and they're really keen for it. Rumors are they're already training for Alliance tournament, which is way ahead of us. So hopefully they can put up a really good show. And we're really keen. And we've actually changing the rules slightly this time. Bob's got some really good ideas about how he thinks that an next Alliance tournament should be balanced in terms of rules and points. So I've taken his point suggestions, which I think are really great, and I've given them the teams for next time. They're on the website, which I've linked in the Twitch chat. And so I'm really excited. The teams have got a deadline tomorrow of the comps they're going to submit, which I'll put on the website on Monday if people want to see what they're going to be flying next weekend.
That is a rather beautiful segue into the next thing I want to talk about is, for the Worlds Collide, we obviously had a new tournament format. 5v5 rather than maximum of 12v12, and it introduced things like banning Bastion. The Tinker got banned out by different remote rep modules, and we also had the T1 drones rule along with a few other things and a few little point changes. What do you guys think of the direction, not necessarily the specifics, but the direction that the rule set went in for the Worlds Collide tournament? And do you think that is good and is hopeful leading towards the next Alliance tournament, or do you think that we don't need to go necessarily as much in the direction that the rules did for Worlds Collide?
Well, I'm just going to take that. Essentially, I should hopefully have an article coming out in Crossing Zebras either probably the end of this week or start of next week on what I propose should happen for the next Alliance tournament. I've got a whole piece on how I think we should change the points for the Alliance tournament and how we should tweak some of the rules for the Alliance tournament to make things a lot more competitive. If you look back at AT11 and AT12, it was very, very drone heavy. And I don't think that was a lot of fun to watch. I also think stuff like damps are really oppressive, and also I think stuff like tinkers, those are really oppressive as well. And added to that, marauders. I think that tournament matches that focus heavily on defense, where you've got a bunch of basically unkillable ships and a low amount of damage, I think those are pretty uninteresting for a viewer. So I think stuff like toning down damps, toning down drones a little bit, and toning down tinkers will make things a lot more interesting for the viewer, and hopefully should increase the watchability of EVE tournaments as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I found like everybody was saying that the meta in 8012 was kind of stale. It was just drones, and then at the end, kind of Bastion and more Tinker stuff. I mean, I agree that we only kind of saw drones and what I just said, but I think that there was, if you look at it carefully, there was this meta shift throughout the tournament. In that very early on, we were seeing a lot of VNIs, we were seeing a lot of EOS, we were seeing the Gila Sleipnir compositions, like those were really, really popular. Then
They're
as the
exciting
tournament,
to watch.
yeah, those were exciting to watch. But as the tournament went through, people noticed that the damage application of the Gila wasn't like amazing. Like they were good ships, but it wasn't amazing. And then eventually the held back for final 2 weekend setups, the Bastion setups, the Golem TPs, a couple Paladin setups we saw. I don't think we saw a Kronos. I know we saw Varga early on, but that died quite horribly.
I think there was a couple of Cronoses, but they weren't widely used. I think there was at least one. There was at least one during the whole tournament.
It was a long time ago. I can't remember.
They're just,
but yeah. And then the Tinkers as well that performed largely as you'd expect them to, apart from that amazing like PL bombing run onto the golem painted Loki that was just so good to watch. Like guys, if you didn't watch last year's AT, go and look at some of the highlight matches. They were hilarious.
That drama filled match, I think it was either Ronan or Nully versus Hydra, where I think they smart bombed all Hydra's drones, so Hydra had no damage left, and Hydra just flew out the arena one by one. Just some of the faces,
that was
like
the
your
one
face, and
where
was just
that was the one where Hydra's and Neros slowly died whilst to Nully, whilst Hydra weren't breaking anything, and then like as soon as the Aneros died, they're like, okay, we're now gonna start losing DPS, and they just burnt out of the arena. And me and Back realized what was going. Oh, is Hydra going to be beat by Nully? Like Hydra, Hydra and PL being the two pinnacles of the AT for the past couple of years. Like pretty much the only guys who consistently dunked everyone but each other, suddenly taken out by Nully, who a lot of things were said about Nully having absorbed Hun Reloaded, and obviously gaining that member base and gaining that experience is fantastic, but it wasn't just the Hun team with Nully banner. You had a lot of Nully dudes as well, like kind of this taking over of the lead position, and then the finals as well being Nully versus Camel. Again, Camel, brand new name, a lot of old tournament pilots, very closely affiliated with Hydra, but one of the things people said about the last tournament was, this is dumb, we're just going to have PL Hydra finals again. But no, we had neither of them there.
I don't think we're going to see that again, that dominating era. I think with the price structure changes and more people interested in tournaments in general, I think there's a little bit of groundswell at the moment, and I think those like elite players are spreading out into other alliances, which is really cool.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a lot more level playing fields in AT13 and a lot more closer matches. I'm also hoping for a slightly better meta. One of the great rules changes from Worlds Collide was the Tech 1 drones rule.
Yeah.
I think that's an elegant solution to basically neutering the drone meta a little bit. When we were in Camel, when we were testing stuff for the drone kiting comps, Tech 1 drones were still pretty powerful, but they were no longer like really fast, and they were really easy to kill, so they're partly easier to counter now. I think it was just a great and elegant solution from Fozzie introducing that rule for Worlds Collide.
I think some people have suggested that's a bit too brutal, and it will kill. No, we won't see any drone comps next AT. I think we will still see them. I think my preferred balance would be to allow T2 drones, ban augmented, and all the faction drones, ban augmented drones, because those are the ones like the augmented hammerheads on Aguila were just ridiculous. I think those should go, and I think also they should ban faction ammunition as well. Just make it more of a level playing field, because you look at a Hydra Saber that dies and it's like 500 million. You're like, how, what? And then you look at its like domination ammunition, they like min-max everything, and that's got one of the complaints about AT is that there's a big ISK limiting factor to a lot of teams, and I think taking out the ammunition and expensive implants and stuff would be really good to rein that in a little bit.
If all the drone comps went away, would you guys really care though?
No.
I think that in any case, whenever you change balance to something, I think that making it go away completely is never interesting, because you're even though we've seen them a lot, we don't necessarily want them to not exist anymore. I think one of the things that's going to be really cool this year round is suddenly having T3 destroyers, which are going to add a whole new flavour to a lot of different comps, and it's going to mean a lot of comps have to be prepared for those things, because, you know, got ridiculous tank, great DPS, really tiny sig, like, Gorski has just been talking non-stop about the Galente T3 destroyer, which apparently is just going to not ever die, ever. But a point you brought up that I want to put on is kind of the ISK requirement and kind of the need to have all this high SP, high ridiculousness. Blue, as a guy from a new player alliance, as a fairly new player yourself, approaching these tournaments and coming into the alliance tournament and kind of learning about what it is, how do you think that, based on your experience watching Worlds Collide and watching the last alliance tournament, what do you think needs to be done in order to make it more accessible to new players? How do you think that we can bring in the new EVE audience into watching what's kind of in, for quite a long time, been kind of an old boys club of EVE?
Well, I think that right now, even right now with the current meta, you know, even people with low SP have a role during the fight. Like, you can put them in a T1 frigate and stick a load of damps in the mids, and you've got a decent tournament ship. But I think making T1 guns do more damage compared to T2 guns would definitely help out new players. But then again, you've always got to have that sense of, you know, accomplishing something. So, you know, training those skills is always going to be really important.
Yeah, I think the big thing about T2 guns is more so the T2 ammo.
It's the ammo, really.
I mean, the T2 guns themselves usually only get a damage bonus from having the extra specialization skill of 2% per level. But you're definitely right in, like, the T2 ammo, that can be a giant pain. I mean, there was even a balance patch that came out recently that changed the base stats on, I believe it was pulse lasers, and then changed how Scorch works a little bit, because for a long time, if you were doing, you know,
Scorch was just the go-to, and if you didn't have Scorch, it was completely useless. And yeah, exactly. You shouldn't even use pulses if you didn't have Scorch.
I mean, what about from an audience standpoint? Because one of the things we hear is, for a new player or for a young player in EVE, it's very difficult to watch the Alliance tournament, have any idea of what's going on. How do you think that can be worked with?
I think the commentators should just make an effort to try and explain things, like maybe between games, or like in a period where there's a little bit of a pause, you know, explain like why is this significant, you know, why did this pilot do this, and how that relates to some mechanic in the game or something.
Yeah, one of the things I've been thinking... Sorry, please.
No, I wasn't going to say anything.
One of the things I've been thinking about is in a lot of esports streams, like your StarCrafts or your Dotas, is that you have the main stream with the kind of ex-pro commentators talking about the game and giving all the high-level analysis, but also usually there's a second stream now, like the new guy stream, where you have guys who are still very knowledgeable, but they just focus on explaining, this is what this spell does. This guy is building marines because he needs anti-air. This guy is buying this item on this Dota hero. I can't do Dota analogies, but still, that's... Do you think that's something that would be cool to have in EVE? Do you think that's something really worth doing, or do you think we should try and just get the new players into the mainstream?
I think, well, there's always times where, I mean, we all play EVE. We know that in EVE there's always a point where nothing's really going on. And I think, you know, maybe during that time, there's, you know, you can explain something. Or, I mean, we could have a secondary stream. I don't know. We'll see.
I think it'll be great if you can find people to do it.
Yeah.
And the people that are doing it would have to be on grid during a tournament match as well.
Yeah. I mean, you could just, even if they weren't flown out to Iceland with the mainstream commentators, you could still have it set up, I think, so that it was the same as when we were casting for the first 2 weeks from home, just via Skype. And I mean, I think it would certainly be possible. Maybe it's something to think about anyway. I forgot the next thing I was going to say. In fact, Bay, please.
I was just going to say, I think that CSP, I think they could do a lot with the presentation on stream. Like, They introduced recently, like I think I can't remember how many tournaments ago they introduced. You could actually see which ship was being webbed.
The bars
using
and stuff.
Yeah, the bars. Right, that was super helpful as a viewer because before they didn't have that, and you had to guess what was being. You could only see if something was being webbed if they zoomed in on it. And like for my stream, that's all I've got basically. Is unfortunately being able to zoom in and web. Like they've obviously got the API thing, the Crest API. So hopefully they can do more with that to make it more. Maybe to see from which ship is webbing which ship, because at the moment you can only see when a ship is being webbed. It'd be really nice to see as a viewer who was webbing that ship.
This year we had the nullsec third-party site replay system where you could go and watch actually the positioning of the ships and pretend you were kind of in there, moving things around the arena, moving the camera angle and see what was going on, which I thought was a really cool tool. And I remember after each match on 8012, we had that pop-up screen with what was destroyed, the ISK value, how much damage each thing took. But I definitely agree with the point you said about, Blue said about sometimes it being boring. I remember in I think it was possibly the final match of the entire tournament, there was just a paladin left in Bastion, just tanking and tanking and tanking, but slowly dying. And we all knew it was going to die. We all knew it was over. But Bacchanali and I had to keep the hype up so that we could be at high hype at the end of the match to go back to the studio. So we're like, oh, the Paladin's tanking, the Paladin is still tanking, but they're going to get some DPS. Oh, they're going to stay in range. No, the Paladin is still not managing to shoot everyone. And it just went on and on and on and on and on for like 3 minutes as the Paladin just went, no, I'm going to hit my rep button. I'm going to stay alive as long as possible so I don't lose this shit because it's a ton of money. And it was just, you're right, it's totally difficult when nothing's going on to kind of fill that space and kind of keep that, whether you need to be high, whether you need to be low, or whether you take time out to explain things. Like one of my favourite things to do at the end of a cast, because Fozzie is this robot of infinite knowledge about the game, I'd just say, so Fozzie, tell me about this thing, and he would just like talk for as long as you want. Like I love Fozzie so much. Like you could legit put Fozzie in a room and have him solo cast the whole tournament, and just like he would man through it, and he would love every damn second. I think he loves the Alliance tournament more than anyone else on the planet.
Yeah, it's like the kind of vibe I got from Fozzie as well when I was working with him. He just loves all things tournaments.
Okay, so moving on, I wanted to say about the changes that have come into EVE since the last Alliance tournament, and I should put on a disclaimer that we're talking about Alliance Tournament 13. It hasn't actually been announced yet. There's no official confirmation that's going to happen. We're working on the basis that we're assuming it's going to happen. And please, it's really cool. Please. I mean, from all the devs I spoke to, and even when I spoke to CCP Seagull in Iceland, they all love doing it. So I'm assuming it's going to happen. But anyway, since the last tournament, we've had a recon rebalance, giving them a bit more tank. We've had the introduction of the T3 Decies. Obviously, not all of them are in game yet, but we've got stats on all of them. And in fact, the Svipple and the Confessor have just been nerfed a little bit. Trying to think of any other major balance changes we've had since the last Alliance tournament. I mean, there have been little...
Ishtar got slightly...
Ishtar,
Heavy Interdictor's got buffed a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think that any of these changes are going to significantly change what people are doing on their own? We spoke a little about the T3 destroyers, or do you think that it's going to be up to the rule set to significantly change the meta? I mean, of the balance changes and new ships we've had, what do you think are going to be the key ones? What do you think about them?
It depends how things are pointed, really. If tech-free destroyers are like 5 points, you're going to see a lot of them. If they're 6 points, I'm not really sure we're going to see a hell of a lot of them, because it's the same points value as like a Tech 1 cruiser. So teams are going to have to sit down and think about what they're going to have in a comp. Would you rather a Confessor or a Vexor, for example? Regarding the recon changes, I don't think that's going to be a huge deal unless there's also a change to the recon points values as well. Sure, they did get, like the Force Recons did get a little bit more resists, and they got a bit more cap, and they got a bit more speeds. But I think those things were mostly affecting their usage on TQ and not really affecting very much what's happening with them in the tournament setting. The low slot in Lachesis might be significant. You might be able to see Lachesis in an AT match, especially if they put rules around damps. But other than that, I can't see a lot of changes from AT12 if they keep the rules the same.
On Tranquility, the Lachesis is now my favourite ship. you can double plate it with like an enam and an explosive hardener. It tanks like 95k and you get 6 damps. Like, I'm just FCing from that all the time in low sec. Just like, every single one of your lodges has a bonus damp on it.
So,
Get
Apoth,
wrecked.
you're a complete scumbag.
I know, but I don't care anymore. Like,
Total scumbag.
like, I've done the engaging snuff box in like and now Galmill with like, I don't know, what is it? Slaved Guardians and Absolutions whilst I'm trying to take T1 cruisers out. I'm just about, no, just have a Lachesis to the face all day long. It's such a cool ship. And then you can just put all the damps in, or you can just point everything. Like, I did a run once where I just did max tank on all the ships, and like max application in the mids, and then just I was the only one that could point anything, but I had 6 long points, so it was fine.
That's crazy. That's nuts. Yeah, I'm just imagining this dual-plated Lachesis with 6 points on it.
Or,
I mean, for like a blob, for like a big gang, like 20 or 30 or 40 man gang, that's all the points you need. Everyone else can just not fit a point anymore.
The next thing I want to do is I want to fit all scrams, all faction scrams, and just be probed onto like a gang of kiting Orthrus. Just land scram all of them at once. Oh, it's gonna be so good. It's gonna be
such
so
a
good.
scumbag, total scumbag, Apoth.
Hugin got an extra slot, didn't it, as well?
Yeah, the Hugin.
Yeah,
I mean,
you could probably do something similar with a Hugin.
yeah,
Be disgusting.
the Hugin's more difficult, I think, because it doesn't quite have the huge power grid. Like, you can't double plate it, but the Hugin definitely, you're right, got some love and is way more useful than it was before. Like, like if you could find like a really nice tanking fit, it would be so useful in so many situations. I mean, speaking of recons, I mean, historically speaking, in larger fleets, they've not got as much love because you can just do a T3 cruiser and just have way more tank. And generally speaking, they're not very well tanked. I mean,
You still see the shield ones. Yeah, you see the Hugin and the Lachesis very often in stuff like Ishtar and Eagle fleets, kiting Tengu fleets, kiting shield fleets. But for the brawlers, like, they just don't have enough tank. They're designed to avoid damage, not take damage, like the T3s are, which is why, like, you only see the T3 ones. You only see like the Lokis for webs and the Proteuses for points in the armor fleets. Like the Rapier and the Raza are just completely useless. And
Like, I was seriously against when Fozzie was suggesting to up the resists. No, I think it was Rise actually. Yeah, Rise wanted to up the resist to hack resist.
Yeah,
can you imagine your dual plated Lachesis? Can you imagine that with hack resist?
Oh, don't! I'm gonna split through my desk with my nerd boner. Like, don't even say it.
Can you appreciate how broken that would be?
Yes, but I don't care. I just don't care. Like, sometimes you care about balance and like, oh, this is important to be balancing this, balance that. But sometimes you're just in a mood to go, oh my god, that'd be so broken, and I just want to abuse it. The thing I miss about the Arazu and the Rapier, in that I used to love using them for leading Waffles Blops gangs. You just send a bunch of them around a region and you just jump on targets. Either you do point double web with the Rapier, or you just do like scram it down with an Arazu and then damp it so it can't lock any of the incoming DPS. And you like Covert Sino standard Blops drops. But Blops, since Phoebe, have kind of mostly died, and I'm quite sad about that. Like, I kind of want them to get the same bonus to fatigue that jump freighters do. Not on the bridge. Bombers should get all the fatigue, but I think the Blops battleships maybe have the T2 fatigue, because the only T2 ships that jump in the game at the moment are the jump freighters and the Black Ops battleships. Everything else is technically speaking T1. And jump freighters get the bonus.
has the jump freighter bonus.
The Rorqual has it as well.
It's a T1 ship though, yeah.
Maybe, but like, I feel like that it wouldn't be imbalanced, because you wouldn't start jumping across Eve in Black Ops battleships gangs to attend fights, because they really don't tank all that well, like, for battleships, and they're so expensive, so that if you did try and get in a full-blown fight with them, you'd like be screwed. And the logistics you take for them is either a remote repping sin, or you take triage, and that's going to be slow as well to take across. So I'd love to see that little change, just to give Blops a little bit more love.
You can do quite a lot of interesting things with the remote rep T3s. Like, you can make a Legion the reps a lot harder than a Guardian, but obviously the range is an issue. But if you're just straight up ganking something at 0, you can get away with them. They're quite fun.
Anyway, so guys, do you have any final thoughts about the Alliance tournament? Any hype? Any things that you're scared about? Any things that you really want to see?
I really like to see as I said earlier, the rules tweaked a little bit. I really like a point system that goes from like faction pirate battleships at the high end down to like rookie ships at like the low end. I really like for there to be points between, it's like say 20 points right down to 1 point. I think that'll make a lot of comps more viable. I think you might see a lot more different ships being fielded within tournaments themselves, and I just think it'll be much more entertaining for the viewer if that happens. If you balance oppressive stuff like Damps, Tinkers, and the Bastion module, then you can make things a lot more better viewing, and you can make things better for the teams that you're crafting as well.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to see the Tinkers go away. I find them incredibly boring to watch and to fly in as well. We tried a Tinker last year in Tuskers, and it's just so frustrating. It's just not flying in space. It's just making sure you press F1 and F2 at the right time.
I think that piloting the Logistics T3 in a Tinker is one of the hardest jobs in Eve. For sure. Like that is a high skill thing. But as a spectacle, as something to watch, they're still sat not moving next to each other, and it's still wrapping.
Was it challenging commentating that stuff, April? The Tinker matches.
So what we did in a lot of the Tinker matches is that a lot of them can end quite spectacularly. For example, we had the one where PL bombed the Tinker Loki. We had, zooming in on, when people are trying to bump people out of the Tinker. That's quite cool. But the entire tournament, Bacchanalian and I would just spend a lot of the week talking about, please don't let there be a Tinker versus Tinker next week. Please don't let there be a Tinker versus Tinker next week.
I don't think that ever happened, did it?
It didn't.
I was waiting the whole tournament for that to happen, and it never happened. It was ridiculous the amount of Tinkers we saw. We never saw that happen. It was bizarre.
I think it happened during one of the SCLs, and it was really, really boring.
Yeah, it's got to be, isn't it? I mean, it can't be easy to come up with a Tinker that can break a Tinker.
Yeah.
How long has the Nestor been out? Was the Nestor out?
It was out,
was
but
banned.
They just changed. They banned.
Yeah,
it.
They didn't allow it.
Yeah. Because they added the ship maintenance array before the tournament happened. So it's just ban the Nestor outright because it would give the teams the option to refit on the field, which would be incredibly fun for the teams, but really boring to watch.
A double Scorpion setup, just refit to all appropriate jams. Do that. Yeah. That'd be great.
You know what Nestor's good at, though? It's good at being a nano ship.
It is.
Yeah.
We've been taking them out with Macarials, which are the fastest battleship you can get, and they're actually really damn good.
Yeah.
Low mass.
They're so fast.
Yeah.
And you can refit autocannons after you dumpster some Ishtar fleet with arties and go brawl with somebody.
It's so good. Oh man. Yeah, Nestors are awesome. Yeah, so let's do the Eve Nottingham ticket giveaway. So as I said earlier on, we're going to give away a free ticket to Eve Nottingham. It is unsurprisingly in Nottingham in England on September the 19th, so it's a little while away. But a free ticket is indeed a free ticket, and I've been told by Nash, who is one of the organisers, if not the main organiser. Is that
the main organiser? Yeah,
the main organiser. So the first person to type how should I say it? Type
the name of the event.
The name of the event. Okay, we'll go with that in chat. Gets a free ticket to Eve Nottingham.
Correctly.
Correctly.
You have to type it correctly.
You got to type it correctly, not just the first one to type
correct
it.
Branding.
And we now wait for a few minutes whilst the stream updates. Should be 15-20 seconds. Yeah.
It's I think tickets are selling out quite fast. Apparently, we've already gone about a third of the way through the tickets, and it's only April still, and this thing's not till September. So if you want to go, guys, please get a ticket as soon as you can. Is all I can advise you to do.
I think we basically sold out last year, didn't we, Bay?
We sold out about 3 or 4 weeks before it happened.
Do you have a link that you can put in the chat?
Oh gosh, Nash is going to kill me. Yeah, I'll dig that out now. There you go.
I want to know why this guy is...
Yep. So the link's there.
I'm just doing some modding at the moment in the chat. There we go, sorted. But yeah, so do you think given the lateness of the announcement of the Alliance tournament existing, some teams have already started practicing, some haven't. They said last year that they would announce the cutoff date to be in the Alliance you're going to play in before the cutoff date. Because last year, the cutoff date was April 24th, and the tournament wasn't announced, and that rule wasn't announced till after April 24th. And currently it is April 25th, as it happens. So what do you think that's going to mean for teams practicing? Do you think it's a good idea to start practicing now, or do you think it's not worth bothering? Some teams are, some teams haven't.
My view
I
is
think
that,
it's sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
my view is that I don't want to start. I'm not going to start practicing and theory crafting it until they announce it's actually happening. And then for me, that's when we kick off, because when something's actually going to happen, then all the effort we're going to put in is not going to be wasted completely. There's rumors, I believe, that they're going to leave it. I don't have this confirmed at all, but I believe there's a rumor that they're going to leave it a lot nearer the time to actually make the cutoff this time, so people can make sure they get into an alliance and pre-warn people of the date. It so frustrated me last year. I just made it in on my main to the Tuskers to fly with them last year by a few days. Had I left it a week because I was being lazy, I would have missed out on what I think is a fantastic experience. And I really didn't like that mechanic, so I really hope they change it.
Yeah, I missed out being in the Camel AG team last year by a few days.
The only person that's got it right at the moment is Nidden, and he already has one, so he's just messing with you. So literally there's a free ticket to Eve Nottingham, and they're not automatically free, so you save yourself a bunch of money if you just type what Nidden typed.
It's worth 15
in
quid.
the chat. 15 quid! You're getting effectively 15 quid.
You just have to copy and paste what that guy's written. No one wants one.
No one wants to come, Bay. No one's going to turn up.
Copy paste.
Isn't
Because it's in Nottingham. Who wants to go to Nottingham?
It's like 2
Nottingham's
hours
great.
on the
I
train
live in
for me. It's
Nottingham.
great. Like, it's really easy for me to get to. It's like the first Eve thing that's not like a giant pain to get to. Like the next easiest one is I didn't know it existed last time, if I'm honest.
It's a shame. Yeah,
no one invited me, Bay. No one invited me. Bay.
Blame Nash.
Oh, right, guys, we're coming up to the full hour, so why don't we start doing some shout outs? So Bob, who would you like to shout out to?
I'd like a shout out to the rest of the Camel guys. Dalika, Neart, Snall, Drainer, Fisty, Robo, all you guys. I love you guys.
Bay?
Yeah, I'd like to recap that I'm going to be running Tuskers versus Hard Knocks on the 3rd of May at 1900 Eve time. Come along to listen to some entertaining commentary and hopefully some great matches. I've put the website in the chat earlier, but I'll redo that in a second. And also, I just noticed on the forums today, Mystic Rebel from the Afterlife is also running a small tournament in the middle of May for Russians. And I think the more people that get involved with streaming tournament stuff, just set up a match on CC, stream it, spam it on Reddit or whatever. I think the more people do that, the more CCP sit up and take notice and hopefully support the tournament community.
Okay, I think we've actually had a winner. So, wow, I have a Crossing Zebras email? I didn't know that. Nidden just posted that I have a Crossing Zebras email in the chat. Cool. Anyway, Blue, please do your shoutouts, friend.
I'd like to shout out. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to shout out 2 guys who've done an amazing job restructuring our training FC program, which is really important to us because you always need more FCs, which is Extremes and Negative Light. They've done an amazing job. They've put in a lot of effort into it, and I hope it really works.
Fantastic. For me, shout-outs always to evebet.com for supporting Crossing Zebras and all we do. At Eve Nottingham, I think we didn't mention yet that there's going to be... have we announced this yet? The Crossing... Fuck it, I'm announcing it. Xander might kill me. But we're doing a live Crossing Zebras podcast recording for like 2 hours or something. I may have not been supposed to say that, but hey, I have now. It's now on the internet, so we've got to do it. But yeah, and then, as always, shout out to PLFC team, who are always really fun to work with, even if we argue a lot sometimes. That is it for Crossing Zebras TV this week, the tournament's episode. Giant thank you to Bob and Bay for being guests. Huge welcome and thank you for Blue Ice for being the new co-host of Crossing Zebras TV. He's going to be joining me, plan is, every week, and as we go over different topics, and he's helping me come up with what we want to talk about. PL and Brave working in harmony, as they always have and should. Again, thank you guys for watching. We will see you next week. Feel free to send any suggestions for topics or ideas to me at CallMeApoth on Twitter. Peace, guys.